Thank you, Booker. So let me continue on with her introduction. So after studying acting with the acclaimed Milton Katselas and learning screenwriting under the mentorship of her father and Howard Koch of Casablanca, her production company, Warner Sisters, was born. And Cass carries on the original Warner Brothers motto, which is making films that educate, entertain, and enlighten. She wrote the Brothers Warner book after years of research, and it is the family biography and intimate portrait of the four legendary Warner Brothers who founded the Warner Brothers studio. In 2008, Cass completed a feature documentary, The Brothers Warner, that she directed, wrote, produced, and narrated. And the film was aired on the PBS American Masters series and won numerous awards. Cass won the prestigious HBO Films Producer Award and was on the Emmys nomination list as a director in 2009. A favorite ongoing project of hers is a series of thoughtful one-on-one conversations that capture the passion of people's journey to success, including her actor son, Cole Hauser, who plays Rip in the Yellowstone TV series. And these interviews are forming an inspirational library for her nonprofit, The Dream Factory. Please join me in welcoming Cass Warner.
Hello. Well, it's great to be here. Thank you, Booker, for this great opportunity. Really appreciate it. I have to tell you, while flipping through early photos of my childhood, I saw a shot that made me laugh out loud. And the reason why is because I was 4 or 5 years old and I was carrying a very big backpack. And you ask why? Well, because I'd tell my father that I needed something hard to do. So I really felt like I was helping. I was very fortunate to grow up in a household where my dad, Milton Sperling, who was a writer on the Warner Brothers lot, writer, producer, and my mom, Betty Warner, who was an artist, did a great job of raising us. I grew up listening to my dad tell us stories about his day on the lot. And I remember him telling us how Grandpa Harry would chase Great Uncle Jack around the lot and about their shouting matches. No matter the wild stories, Dad always would make us laugh with his stories. I grew up fascinated by the family characters in his stories, who happened to be my relatives. And those stories didn't always match my reality about my grandfather, who I saw every weekend at his ranch, and who I found to be a loving, sweet man who never raised his voice. I loved going to the Warner Brothers studio lot with my dad, and I often did. My adventures, personal encounters, and my dad's stories helped to shape me into who I am today, to become Cass Warner, the person, not just the name. So once while on the lot, I witnessed my grandfather stopping and speaking to the janitor. They were on a first name basis and obviously were good friends, and they seemed to greatly enjoy each other's company. I was then amazed at how I realized that I had this extended family, which were the people working on the lot, and that they were really part of my family. And that's how my grandfather treated them. They were treated as equals, and I loved that. My life adventures continued. I left high school early to travel to Israel to spend time on a kibbutz, an experience that changed my life. Why? Well, one reason was because while I was traveling on a bus, I saw examples of poverty that I had never seen before. It was there and then that I decided to be a teacher, as I felt if people were educated, they wouldn't be in the economic condition they were in. I returned to the US to attend college. I lasted a year before I went to Greece on a family outing, which turned out to be a mission my stepfather had to save the American-born Prime Minister, George Papandreou, from house arrest. This was the real reason we went to Greece. I should mention that at our family table, in addition to the stories about the lot, we discussed world affairs and civil rights. My grandfather and my parents were quick to point out injustices they saw, so doing something about the situation in Greece was not a total surprise. When I returned from Greece, I moved to Berkeley, a perfect place for me to live and work with people who wanted to change the world. While I was there, I worked at McDonald's and Pier 1. I then married the head of a progressive free school or alternative education school. I didn't have a traditional education. I didn't go to public school until I was 6 years in the 6th grade, actually. Prior to that, I loved school because we talked about world news and looked at history as it relates to what's happening in the world today. And we never got grades, but we were evaluated by how much we participated in what we were learning. I was 26 at the time when everything came together for me. I knew that I wanted what I wanted to do with my life. My great uncle Jack was being presented with a commemorative stamp in the brother's honor at the Palladium in Hollywood. I was living in Florida at the time, but I flew to Los Angeles to attend this event. Due to meeting someone who knew my great uncle Sam that night, I decided that's it. It's time I take responsibility for the family's legacy. I realized it was also my legacy that I needed to take responsibility for. Thus, the decision to write a book on my family, which led me to an 11-year research project, which I did while raising 4 children. Hollywood Be Thy Name, the Warner Brothers story, was born. It was published in 1993, and several years later, after many attempts to turn the family story into a TV series, I followed the book with a documentary, which was released in 2008. The title of the book was changed to The Brothers Warner to match the documentary. What I've learned from becoming Cass Warner, from birthing both the book and the documentary, well, first of all, never give up. Persist. My friends who watched me live through this process of creating these projects with me always said, no matter what, Cass, you never gave up. You were the executive producer, the writer, the director, the person who found the money, the narrator. Yikes. Yeah, persistence is my middle name. The second life lesson I learned was never, ever let a stop you. I used every stop there were, and there were a lot. Money, a big stop. Family politics, a stop. Lawyers, another big stop. I learned how to always use every stop as an incentive to create. I highly recommend it. I always chose not to go into agreement with the stop, but to find a way to disagree and push through the stop. In other words, stops for me are incentives to outcreate the stops, to find another way to reach my goals. When I was writing the book, one of the challenges was how to be a mom to 4 very active children and get quiet time to write. I let the kids know that what I was doing and how important it was for me to know our roots, where we came from, and how we were able to get to this country from Russia and why. My bright idea to handle the need for a quiet space in a very busy life was to create a space separate from the house. Because I was very conscious of the kids having their own space and being able to do what they wanted in their own room, it made sense to them when I did this for myself. There was a mutual respect, which really worked. The third life lesson, never doubt yourself or your project. Never. Always believe in your project and always believe in yourself. If we don't believe in our project and we don't believe in ourselves, you have to ask the question, why then are we doing what we're doing? Being realistic, I knew I never had done a documentary before. So my first invitation was to an Academy Award-winning editor to work with me. Because she was so comfortable in her own skin and in her skills, she graciously invited me to join her and to participate all along the way, which was really great. I learned a lot and I really felt like I was a part of the creation. This got rid of any doubts I had of my abilities to contribute to the storytelling process. It was a beautiful partnership, which I'll be forever grateful for. That rock solid belief in myself and being able to figure out the key steps I need to have in place to make my dream and a reality gets me through every project I take on. And it gets me across every finish line where I can happily say, done, I did it. Becoming Cass Warner has been and is an adventure, and never giving up and believing what I do, plus persisting no matter what the stops. I encourage you to do this. I encourage you to never give up once you have set your sights on the mountain you want to climb. As I look to the future, I see more adventures, more lessons to be learned, more ways to outcreate the stops, and more ways to confirm. Never, ever give up. Please.
Thank you, Cass, for your wonderful presentation. Your points about, not letting stops block your path, but to use them as incentives to create and outcreate them was especially inspiring to me as a student. Thank you for your time.
You're very, very welcome.